Thank you for joining us on another episode of NEC-Suites, where we interview community leaders to provide thoughtful insights to our small business community. This year, we're approaching these interviews a little differently, where we're stepping away from the traditional settings, and we're doing something that our guest enjoys, or is going to learn in this case. Today we're speaking with Eddie Moreton, who's the president of Lift Orlando. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you.
Now, when we spoke, one of the things that you noted is that you loved reading nonfiction, loved learning about leadership and communication, and had actually a number of different favorite quotes. And so in that same frame of thought, I thought, why not frame that inspirational quote so that we are paying it forward to other entrepreneurs that are seeing the wall where the artwork is framed.
Such a great idea, thank you.
So I deliberately chose to repurpose frames as well as part of this exercise, because as entrepreneurs, you may not have the ability to buy things right on the spot, new things, so you have to make do with what you have. And so, again, being creative with what we have for this exercise. So we're going to start by painting the frame as well as the glass. And I'm going to start with my question to you by asking, what is your most favorite quote that we are actually working on today?
Oh gosh, it was very hard to select, but I think instead of choosing some of the people I quote from history, in this case I'm quoting a very wise man who lives right here in Orlando. He's one of my favorite people, one of the wisest men I've ever known, and if you've ever met with him, you know why I say that. His name is John Thurman. He was a longtime president of Westbrook, was part of the leadership team at Insurance Office of America today, and John has said this many times, that encouragement is food for the heart, and every heart is a hungry heart.
I have not met him, but now
we'll have to make that happen.
Want to.
Yes,
yes, and this means so much more. Thank you for that. I didn't realize that. So we're going to go ahead and kind of get started. So if you want to grab the white paint, I just realized I still left the tape on here so it didn't get all over, but you will squirt a big blob on the glass. And then just start smearing it around.
Awesome.
And so now,
is there a name for this kind of art we're doing here? Is this seems
painting?
Very
Painting 101. So Eddie, the why on this quote is so significant, obviously, for a number of different reasons. But why in particular was it important for you?
You know, I feel like I've always, both in leadership and in life, always been a fan of witnessing encouragement. I think all of us come to life, do better, are more likely to do our best when others lift us up and help us see more in ourselves than we would see on our own. And I think when I heard this, it made succinctly clear what I've always felt is true. You know, I've always been someone to want to acknowledge the need of encouragement in both employees, peers, and people above me. I have a mentor, Doug Holliday, who's just a phenomenal human being, has lived a storied life. And when we would do these gatherings of leaders, often in DC and New York and other parts of the world, our young interns would get sort of daunted and intimidated by the guest list and all these famous people, CEOs and stuff coming. And he would say, listen, the bigger the household name, the greater the insecurities. So you treat them as you would want to be treated, and you'll find that that's what they'll appreciate most. And this idea that all of us are dealing with our own version of uncertainties and insecurities, and in business and leadership, that's really helpful, because then instead of thinking about how small you might feel compared to folks that might be more successful or more powerful, realize that they also need somebody to encourage them. They need somebody to see them, to understand what they're going through. And so I remember early in leadership always trying to like have a kind word for a boss or a superior, and be thoughtful about complimenting people when they do a good job, even if they're not my employee. I've seen it pay off.
Oh, absolutely. It's the little acts of kindness that go such a long way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you are now president of Lift Orlando, but you've got a pretty remarkable journey, professional journey that got you there. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, I think specifically when I think about the journey to this particular role, the constant theme for me has been my personal sense of calling or mission is to inspire and equip leaders to make a difference. And I try to practice that in every dimension of life, but professionally it's been to inspire and equip business leaders to make a difference. And I think I got my first taste of that back in the 90s working at the Chamber when we had a program called Workforce 2020. Jacob Stewart initiated this first ever public-private partnership with the state to help people coming off of welfare rolls find employment. But to do that, we really needed more employers interested and willing to hire people who oftentimes didn't have a lot of work history.
I'm going to trade you, and
yes.
you can do a second coat here.
Yes.
You were actually more of a pro than I thought.
I'm not sure what I'm doing over there. So you want me to do a second coat on this? Okay, cool. So we, through that process, saw thousands of employers become engaged and really involved in helping people find opportunity, build careers, not just jobs. That was an eye-opening experience for me. So fast forward, there have been many roles with nonprofits and for-profits, with a global consulting company, with a local startup non-for-profit jobs partnership, Mark Stanikis, and working there for a short while to engage employers. I met some of my closest friends. I met John Thurman, met my wife. We were both kind of volunteers around the same time. And so there's something about that connection that when a group of us started meeting to start Lift Orlando, that was sort of the whole premise. It was like, man, everybody's writing checks and going to golf tournaments and rubber chicken dinners, but you read in the newspaper, it doesn't seem like anything's changing. Could the business community do something more than just write checks? And that conversation kept bringing us together about every 6 weeks, and we did a lot of research, read books, traveled to 6 different cities, eventually found this model that business leaders could probably do better to focus on some of the highest priority neighborhoods in town, and then focus on actually solving problems as opposed to just funding causes without some measurement of success. So that's a long-winded way of,
but that's
I feel like it's always been a theme. Yes, in some ways.
So what is exactly Lift's mission?
So our mission is to strengthen neighborhoods so people can thrive. We essentially realized that for all the great causes and philanthropy in town, there wasn't enough focus on the places where most of our families that needed the most help were concentrated. Like they weren't evenly distributed around the county. And so 32805 not only was our area with the least investment, but it also had the stadium in the middle of it.
Correct.
They've just received $200 million from the city and wanted to figure out how to be the first football stadium that was actually good for the neighborhood it's in. And it had this long history of illustrious people, you know, names we know in town that are leaders in our community. This was where they grew up. But there had not been an equal amount of investment in healthcare access and quality housing and strengthen their education system. And so the idea was like, how do we come alongside that community and the good work's being done there, do heavy lifting along things that might be harder. And so we invest in mixed income housing, cradle to career education, community health and wellness, and long-term economic viability. And
what does that entail?
So that involves, we want to see not only the physical revitalization of a neighborhood, but we want to see the economic mobility of people in this neighborhood making more money year over year, ultimately at the same rate that it happens at the rest of the county.
Correct,
and so closing that gap for them, while, it's an important caveat, having a high percentage of the legacy residents be retained, so the people that were there before we showed up to know that they're also beneficiaries of that. And so we're 12 years in now, and
has it really been 12 years?
It's incredible. We've invested about $120 million. We've seen neighbors organize to do all kinds of great causes, to fix up vacant properties, care for the elderly, read to the children, and be their own agents of change. And most of what we do is capital investments in infrastructure, and then bringing the best-in-class nonprofits to work and collaborate there together.
Yeah, and so how do you address some of the small business needs that kind of at the end of the day make up the neighborhoods as well.
Absolutely. A few different ways. We identified about 250 companies that are in the neighborhood, small businesses primarily, and a few years ago partnered with the city of Orlando to help start the first Black business found in Main Street in the city. That is called the Westlakes District.
Okay.
And that Main Street, its goal is to really kind of create more of a brand for that area. The very name of the boundaries between OBT and John Young was created by those residents who were saying, we're really proud of our history as part of Washington Shores, but since John Young Parkway was built in the 90s, they felt like they were a little bit of a different place. And so they organized and rebranded as Westlakes, which we've gotten the mayor and the media and others to recognize. If you've never heard of it, it's because no one used that term until 2014. And then we've been able to do a lot of cohorts that bring our small businesses in the neighborhood together with other small business operators, expose them to mentors, opportunities for capital, get connected in the financial community. And this next month, we are opening kind of fully operational our financial well-being center, which will provide access not only for personal finance, literacy, and education and opportunities, but really all those programs for our entrepreneurs, including a podcast studio, for them to be able to market their businesses and connect with resources, including you guys, which we're so excited about.
Yeah, as I shared with you, we're looking to move into Creative Village, and at the end of the day, I personally love it because of the connectivity.
Absolutely.
Regional scale, immediately, the immediate
makes so much
vicinity.
sense.
Correct. I agree with you. So we're done painting, so we're
Okay,
going to move on to probably the trickier.
Can I write a note of apology to whoever that goes to say, sorry, this was Eddie Morton, and that should say it
we'll
all.
hang it up at the NEC offices. First piece of art that we put in. So now we're going to apply the vinyl cutout of the letters onto the glass. Now, here's my little disclaimer. There is always a letter or two that just refuses to kind of stick. So we have to rub extra hard.
At least you're not asking me to paint the letters on the glass. I think that would have been a very different outcome.
I wouldn't do that to you.
Okay. You want me to help you peel and you?
So, hold on. So there's one.
What is that?
The part of the R that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There you
So
go.
let's. So we will peel it.
Yeah, perfect.
And then, are you familiar with a Cricut machine?
Yes.
Cutting
Oh,
machine?
is that what this is?
Yeah, so I used a Cricut machine to kind of make this. So.
Because you're so cool.
I don't know about cool,
Gosh.
but it creative and fun is probably more. So now you're going to line up and center the X with that, and let's actually kind of, if you lay it forward.
Oh yeah, great idea. Yeah.
And then I'm going to let you align it.
You are a genius.
So you saw me marking it earlier and probably wondered,
Is that good?
Yep, perfect. And so
Enough?
down slowly.
Okay.
Yep, rolling it out.
Not sure it's straight, but.
Well, it should be. If that was a line, that was the smack center, and that should have been the center both. So now, here's the rubbing. So this is where you get to have fun. Yeah, and that's my word, fun. So keeping your team motivated is so important as the el jefe. And especially because you're an organization that's constantly motivating others.
Yeah.
How do you keep your team motivated?
I feel like early in leadership, I thought it was about being a literal cheerleader and verbal opportunities to tell people how awesome they are, how great they are. And I find that nothing motivates people more than motivating work.
Yeah, fair.
Meaningful challenges, significant responsibilities that are making a real difference, and organizations that can kind of have a really clear and compelling mission, and that people understand exactly how their contribution leads to that great outcome. I mean, I do, especially coming out of the pandemics, I started doing these Monday morning mission moments where I'll send a video to the team, and it's highly contextual as opposed to okay, here's exactly what's happening. There might be some highlights, but it's more so how I'm thinking about the work. It might be revisiting our values. It might be talking about our mission at a deeper level, getting people familiar with some of our language and why that's what our language is. And that's been cool, but I don't think it's anywhere near as meaningful as people feeling the weight of responsibility of a really meaningful mission. And I think as entrepreneurs or as founders in particular, sometimes what's hard is you're used to doing all the important things in the
Correct,
organization. And the more you can refrain from being the sole source of all of that creativity and energy and solutions, the more you create space for other people's gift to shine. And they may not do it the same way that you do it. They may have a very different take. It's totally okay.
Getting done.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's so important, especially for entrepreneurs, because you're upskilling individuals as you go. Okay, so we're now going to peel it.
Should I let you do it from that corner only?
No, I'm going to let you. Actually, I should just let you do it. I just wanted to make sure that it would we'd pulled enough. Sorry. So.
Yes, I love this for John. I'm going to take a picture of this and send it to him.
You know, we should
so great. Yes.
Where we frame both, we will make sure he knows that he is inspiring.
You'd love him. He'd be a great guest. He is like one of these people that has a million quotable one-liners.
Awesome.
You could write a book around.
And so what does he do professionally, or what did he do if he's retired?
John is one of these interesting guys who retired at 45 or something, and then spent a year or two trying to figure out what his life purpose was. And so one of the things he does is he practices what he describes as the ministry of availability, which essentially just ministry of availability. For him, it means that he will take the time to meet with you and hear your story for the sole purpose of loving on you. And it's primarily with men in leadership, but he's met with women in leadership as well. But his primary emphasis is like, hey, from my journey as a guy trying to balance life and purpose and family, I want to be able to be available to share whatever knowledge I can. And so some of my best parenting tips, leadership tips, is essentially me quoting John.
I love it. I love it. And I could use some.
All of us, right? I know. One of my favorite of his in the parenting department is that there's only 3 stages of being a parent. He says this is a gross oversimplification of parenting, by the way, but I have found it helpful. He says the first 10 years, your job is to be a benevolent dictator. Keep the body in the right place, doing the right thing, whether they like it or not. But then at that 10-year mark, something changes. They have so many other voices and influences in their life. You're just 1 in 100. So your best bet is not to try to be a dictator, but be an influencer. And before that was a term, what he meant was be active trying to install people in their lives that are younger than you but older than them. To kids, that's who has all the wisdom in the world. But if there are people that would give the same advice you would give, but are younger and would take an interest in your child, you're much better off letting them give them wisdom. And so he would say he would have the hairdresser on speed dial or whatever, and he'd call us, hey, she's going over there today, I don't know what's going on, I trust you to talk to her. And then he says, if you survive those 2 stages and you do them well, you don't try to be a dictator for too long or an influencer too early, you then earn the right of being the advisor who they come to because they want to come to, which is kind of the dream as a parent of adult kids, you know? So, I mean, that's like a little simple Johnism that's so good, you know?
I love that. And you're right though, and it could be someone, a babysitter or the hairdresser,
a youth leader, a neighborhood friend, a family member.
I like that. I like that. I like that.
Look at this. It's like we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
So, no, you are for having brought this. So we just centered this, and similar to things in life, we often have to get centered. So what centers you?
Oh my God, it's so good. A lot of things besides my faith. One of the things that's been helpful anchoring me both in that and my work and relationship has been journaling. I heard somebody say, I don't know if this is literally true, but aligns with something I believe, that your level of leadership is directly related to your capacity for reflection. And that the more responsibility you take on, the faster you're going, the bigger the mountains you're climbing. If you do not know how to pause and reflect, you can't grow.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I think most leaders are like, we're running so fast with so many demands. We barely have a moment to breathe, let alone actually think.
Think about, well, because you're learning from all the lessons along the way. And you're right, if you're not writing them down or intentionally thinking about them, it just goes by the wayside. And any mistakes, you're bound to repeat because you've not
You never
really
learn from it.
Correct.
I had a boss
like that.
early in my career who used to, I can't remember the original quote source, but he used to quote someone who said that that the hardest job there is thinking. And so he would say that he would dedicate, I can't remember how much time it was, but every morning just to thinking. And it was like an hour or whatever where, maybe he journaled or read something or whatever, but then he would just sit and think. He'd think about what he's been hearing in the news, about the way he's been thinking about his team or whatever. That is so stinking hard for most entrepreneurs to do, even if you have the time. Like, we're so ADD.
Well, but and that goes back to, so a couple of weeks ago we interviewed Anne Marie with the Orlando Business Journal, and she does yoga, and she likes it because it's her opportunity to decompress and just kind of take a pause on things, but also, that reflective
Clear her
time.
thoughts.
Yeah, so I associate that with, just exercising, doing something physically okay, but it's your time to kind of think about, get centered and as well.
Even if it's taking a walk, there's all this data now around the incredible impact of just walking.
Yes.
Not even any kind of strain, it's just walking. I read a long time ago that the human body has evolved to require about 12 miles of travel by foot, walking or running every
Daily?
day. Like, that's about what our ancestors used to travel to hunt and gather every day. We don't do, most of us do nowhere near. We're like dying if we walked a mile.
Well, I read, it was a little CNN snippet online, and it was called physical snacking. So it was even 3 minutes of physical activity throughout the day, doing multiple ones, provided more health benefits than not doing anything at all. But it was a great way to break it up. And you can, do squats as you're doing an email for a minute. But just
even
clever ways of
stand-up desks, like
incorporating
stand-up guests are great. Just like that alone is fantastic.
Yeah. So correct, and so you're moving around that way. So, okay, do you want to do the
Did
big
we do
reveal?
This? Oh my goodness.
The big reveal.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh,
that
this looks
looks
awesome.
Great. Now this we will erase. That was a little Sharpie, although it could,
even that already even looks great.
Across.
Oh, I love it.
That worked.
I love this color. It's a beautiful color.
Well, it's navy to match your office, right?
Thank you.
Which
Oh
was
my
the
goodness,
intent.
you're amazing.
Oh no, thank you for joining us.
You are so thoughtful. Your memory is incredible.
This.
I love how you do these. I love the idea of personalizing it to people. Thank you. What a privilege to be part of it.
I've really enjoyed this. So now we are going to wrap up the show.
Okay.
And I'm going to have you read with me what we always read.
Awesome.
So we're going to look into the camera.
Okay.
Together.
Start or grow your business. Make connections. NEC the possibilities.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Belinda, so much.
Thank you for joining us.